The portrayal of a queer experience can be going on a bus, can be going to a restaurant, eating something. I really wanted to portray more of our experience, which is something that was lacking in media. Film would represent like lesbianity or gay people as like just normal people with straight culture, but that have this like different sexual activity or like different romance, but everybody's the same. And I was not interested. I was like, okay, what is our culture? What are we creating? So that really was like, I gotta draw this comic because I think a lot of people is gonna relate to it. So that was the first time that I ever drew a comic. And then from that, I started really thinking in comic. So my name is Lino Arruda. I am originally from Brazil. I was born and lived all my life pretty much in a smaller city in São Paulo, Campinas. My mom is an artist. My mom's girlfriend is also an artist, so I've been really surrounded by that because she really went out of her way to like teach me and my sister of painting very early. The first time I got to Tucson was through a Fulbright scholarship during my PhD program. I came to the Institute for LGBT Studies with the University of Arizona, and I was researching different kinds of like zines and autonomous publications made by trans people in Latin America.
In the comics community, there just aren't very many queer and trans comics. I am an artist and a death doula, and I have a background in libraries. So I do a few different things with zines here in the community, and that's how I know Lino. I really appreciated the way that he approached storytelling in Monstrans and the way that he handled such like sensitive topics with a good sense of humor.
This is how I start the book, talking about this idea of like being born in the wrong body, but not through transsexual lenses and more through disability lenses, and how that narrative really doesn't serve disabled people, right? The narrative of born in the wrong body. Growing up as a queer kid in Campinas, a small conservative town, not having a lot of friends and not being very like immersed in the world. So I kind of felt like I had to create my own world. I think what I was missing as a child, the loneliness, the lack of belonging, really paid off in this moment of like making the zines and having more people relate to it and really building friendship. I think those were like big moments for me to realize comics is something that I really want to do, but not necessarily as a career, but as activist practice.
Zines have been historically used as an activist medium, and they really promote stories that are untold and marginalized. And I think that it makes sense that Lino started out making zines because that is really what they're there for. And that's what a lot of queer and trans folks do end up making zines as a way to get their work, their stories, their experiences out in the world. And so I think that the fact that like Lino was doing that, which led him to, publish his own books, is like an amazing start to his career.
I started transitioning, so it was really hard to get mainstream books about trans masculinity. So that was a moment that I was like, I need to read more about this. I need to be more connected with other trans people. And the zines were where I could find trans people talking about their own experiences. My concern was, how do you use human figures to not talk just about, say, abortion, not just talk about women, but also include trans men. And also thinking about how the figure of the monster, why is that used so much by queer people? Why is that a figure that is so interesting, so captivating, at the time so hard to pin down, right? So transitional, so like something that you can never clearly understand is what a monster is, right? Oh my gosh, so verbal. There's a lot to say. There's a lot of opinions about this. Images of monstrosity or like animal bodies and hybrid bodies, because I think it does allow to like escape some of those ideas of who the human is. I drew this comic that was something that happened to me. That was about my life. It was a piece about the last time that I saw my grandpa. And I also used the figure of a monster to represent that story. I decided to do watercolor, and you know, comics take a lot of time, and watercolor is not a very forgiving, let's say. If you make a mistake, it's gonna be there. So that became my first book, Monstrans, in which I tell a little bit of my own autobiography, using monstrosity as a trope to talk about sexuality, to talk about gender, to talk about disability. It won an award, what we call the gay Oscars in Brazil. It's like the award for best LGBT book of the year. It took so long, it was so immersive, and it's a lonely process, you know. It's a very lonely process to create a book. At the end, you don't even know if it makes sense to you. Am I hallucinating this, right? Yeah, that's kind of the journey.
Hi, I'm Tom McNamara, host of Arizona Illustrated. Thank you for watching this story from our show. And for more local content from Arizona Illustrated, just click right here.